Hello, everybody. It is Friday, the 10th of October, and I want to talk about consciousness and the I am and what it is we actually are. Now, if you see this picture as energy, really on the level of energy, and the Creator as energy that when energy clusters together, it creates a form, it becomes conscious, and that is us. Consciousness that came out of the energetic field of the Creator. And I would say there is no Creator consciousness outside of what it creates. We are the consciousness of the Creator. This is where the Creator is conscious, through us. So there's nothing out there. There's no great mind. We are the mind. Everything that has consciousness is part of the mind of the Creator. And then He is all, which is mind-blowing. Shouldn't even go there. But as we are now, consciousness, how do we exist? How do we evolve? How are we sustained? And again, if you see the picture of the neurons in the brain, if you say this is the brain of the Creator, they are connected energetically with one another, the neurons. You know, there's this great web of connections in the brain, and as you see the same thing if you look through an energy reading and a telescope to see the stars in that way. You will see the same picture, you will see the web. Now, through the connections that we have with one another, we are beings of light. We are beings of energy. We are that, right here, right now. That is not something we have to become, and that is not something that we are just solid and there's great beings of energy out there, and we are not that. No, we are that. We're just not aware of it, that we are that. And we are connected to one another. We are not in a state of disconnection. Well, most of us are not completely disconnected. But we are being influenced through those connections. And it will determine what it is we do. Because if you love something, that will direct what it is you're doing. Yeah? It will restrict you. It absolutely will restrict you if you are connected to something else in love. Another person, an animal, a plant, whatever. That will restrict what it is you can do. And as I said, it will influence who you are. You are becoming what you are through the connections that you have in this world. It is the connection with your child that makes you a mother or a father. It creates the persona. And that is very real. It is something that is built from the energy, and then the mother and the father is the created outcome. But that is real. That is prime reality. That is part of prime reality. You're energetically connected to something that you're not blood related to. That's a friend. Again, the friendship groups that you are in create you. They influence you, they create you to an extent. Self-determination would be, to what extent do you allow them to create? you, because you are an individual something with your own knowledge of good and bad. Yeah. To what extent do you allow them to influence you, to shape you, to create you? But if you look at the neurons in the brain, and if you think that if a neuron will be sitting there saying, I am all there is, yeah, and I know myself through disconnecting from everything else. So all the energetic connections, you break them. You break them. You break off your energetic connections to everything else, and you just sat there on your own. Okay, at that moment you would be a completely autonomous observer. And it does fulfill a purpose, I would say, because it is like being in a war. Well, life shouldn't be a war, but you're in the struggle of all the connections. And it's sometimes very hard to see what is actually going on whilst you are in it. So if you were to disconnect and you would have the bird's level view of what is actually happening there, it sometimes gives you a clearer picture. Yeah? So that this state of disconnection for a while to see what's actually going on, I think it can be very useful. But can you exist in that state? Completely disconnected from the energy flow of everything else? Can you exist in that state forever? Now, again, and the other thing is, if you have that picture of a neuron in the brain completely disconnected from everything else, at that moment, the neuron actually becomes pointless. Yeah, that it has got no more function. So if some say that that is the state that we should all reach, because that is the highest state of being, to have no more function in the whole, I'm not seeing that. I'm really not seeing that. So we do not exist as autonomous beings. We can choose. We can choose our connections, and we should choose them wisely. What it is we're allowing ourselves to become connected to. And really, the choice should be informed by, is there actually something I can give to that other person, that other being, whatever, that other consciousness? And is there something that I can receive? Is that going to be a good relationship? But as I said, to get out of the web altogether, you're becoming pointless. And I cannot see. As I say, if a neuron was completely disconnected from everything else in the brain, what would happen to that neuron? And I would say it would die. I would say it would die. It would disintegrate. It would fall apart. And that would be it. Well, you say everything is energy and energy cannot be lost. No, energy will still exist, but consciousness will be gone. That consciousness is not eternal. It needs, and I really think again, it needs to be constantly energized by everything else for itself to exist. We need to be part of a web in order to stay conscious. So it is a choice. And that is really where we need to understand ourselves, where we need to know what it is we're doing on an energetic level. What is it we are connecting to? And what does that connection do to us? Or what are we doing to the people or whatever that we are connected to? I mean, we might be the bad guy. We might end up being the bad guy if we get it wrong. We don't want to do that either. So, and I would just want to talk about the biblical God here for a minute, because there is a way, there is a web by which connections are built and a way by which energy flows. That is not the natural web. It's another possibility, but it is not the natural web, and it's not the web of this world. If you look at the picture of God in New Jerusalem in the book of the Revelation, and see that on a level of energy, the way that the energy flows in that picture. So God is sitting elevated on his throne. He's got obviously the four creatures sitting there that apparently can say nothing but holy, holy, holy all the time. And then he's got the heavenly host around him singing glory, hallelujah 24/7. And then you say, you know, God as the one elevated being that creates out of nothing. Yeah? That is completely autonomous being of light that creates out of nothing. And he's absolutely not that. Because he's receiving the adoration, the positive energy from everything around him, 24/7. Yeah? So if you see God as consciousness sitting there, as an I am, as an ego, well then the angels and the beings are absolutely feeding that ego positive energy 24/7, and God is full of it. I would say his cup is overflowing. They are creating that. They are energizing that. Yeah? All the power and all the glory are going to God. And their energy is inflating what God is, or thinks he is. Yeah, I was wondering this morning, you know, what would happen to God on his throne if all the heavenly hosts would suddenly stop singing. How long he would stay inflated. But there's again, if you look at that, all the little parts giving of their energy to create one super inflated ego. Is that how it should be? Is that the way of things? Or is, as I say, the other web, where everybody is a part of that which is around them. And every part plays a part, not to inflate the one, but to give to that which is around itself, which is the greater system, which is the way that the energy should flow. There's another thing I thought about God on his throne, and I was thinking about the heavenly host. Do you know what's in their head? With their 24/7 glory hallelujah singing. Why are they singing? Well, one thing is that they are themselves sustained by that system. So I would say they're singing because their life depends on it. Again, is that where you want to be? And I was thinking about the leaders in this world, the inflated egos. I mean, hell. There are some cups here that are definitely overflowing. Again, are they being energized? Do they have the heavenly host around them that is constantly feeding that ego with adoration? You are great. You are fantastic. I mean, is that an impression that they just have by themselves, or is that actually being fed by the host around them? And again, why are they feeding the one? Is it because, well, there's something in it for themselves, isn't there? You serve God and you will get the riches of the table. You will have your snout in the feeding trough. And then the other side, does your life depend on it? If you're no longer singing in unison with the heavenly host, what will happen to you then? I would ask Charlie Kirk. I think you'll find the answer there. So this whole idea of one autonomous being that exists just of its own and is all by itself, I don't think that exists. We can only exist, we are only a part of the Creator, and we can only exist as a part of something. We are beings of energy. Our energy does flow and we do receive. What kind of system are we in? What kind of system would be best for all? That is, we really need to see what we are and what it is we're in, and then make a choice. But this idea of total disconnection and becoming one with the all, that is the death of consciousness. Now, I've said that, I've been in a state of disconnection. Being on this point of, the elevated, the disconnected point of the observer. And I have said before, I feel like I'm at the edge of the abyss. And I've been like standing on the edge of the abyss for a long, long time. And the abyss that I'm looking into is nothingness. The creeping nothingness. The meaninglessness that's what they say, that's what people experience once they disconnect. Things become meaningless. Things seem to be pointless. And then comes the awakening. Well, it's not things have become pointless. You have become pointless in a way. You are no longer part of the brain of the Creator. You are no longer a functioning, connected neuron. You serve no more purpose. You are becoming pointless. And I think that is the way to death. Death of consciousness. You may return back into energy if energy cannot be lost, but not as consciousness. That is why the Creator cannot be known. Because you will not be there to know it. You are that which disintegrates. So, yes, we need to find our way home. I think, in a way, a lot are being elevated now into this state. We need to find our way home into a web. And then really, there is our choice. Where are we going as humanity? Are we going to New Jerusalem? Are we actually all going there singing glory, hallelujah with the rest of the host? And God's cup will overflow. Um, or will we accept each one of us only as one small part that fulfills a small function? Yes, only with that which is around you. But really, yeah, focusing, if each one of us focuses on our own small part in the web, we are all strengthening the web in our own small way. We're all giving into the web and we're all receiving from the web in our own small way. And the web as a whole will exist, sustaining all. I think this is our choice. Which way do we want to go? So, I think that's where we're at. And I wonder which way humanity will decide to go. I think the first thing they really need to wake up to is the picture of this God and what that actually is. And then see it reflected in this world. It's already here. Those inflated egos with the heavenly host around them, they're already here and you can see what they are doing. That's not heaven. That is, people look at this picture in New Jerusalem and say, oh heaven, oh how beautiful. What I'm seeing there is actually extremely dark. Extremely dark. Really, really bad. And I think that is the first thing that people need to wake up to really see good and bad the right way up. And make a choice from there. Anyway, here folks, I leave it at that for today. And I talk to you again soon. Bye.